Real quick before we get started, if you've been following the show, you might have noticed that two episodes dropped in the same day recently. I want to explain that because I think you deserve to know why. I recorded episode 6, scheduled it, and went back and listened to it after it released. And right in the middle of it, I could hear somebody talking in the background. A a conversation that had absolutely nothing to do with the podcast. And I listened to it and thought, I can't allow this to stay out. It's not the quality I want to give you. So I pulled it down and re-recorded it. That is why you're listening. That is what you are listening to right now. And since episode 7 was already scheduled for this same day, it's going to be going live too. So you got two episodes in one day. Consider that a bonus for being patient with me while I get this right. All right, let's get into it. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Jared Speaks, episode 6. I am grateful you are here. Every single episode I record, I feel this show becoming more of what it's supposed to be. And you being here, listening, coming back, sharing it, that's what makes it worth showing up for every day. Thank you. Today's episode was not supposed to go in this direction. I sat down with a completely different plan, something more structured, more organized. But this question kept coming back to me and I couldn't shake it. So we're going here instead. What if the way you experience the world right now, everything you see, hear, feel, and believe, is actually not reality? And I do not mean that in a simulation theory way. We covered that in the Mandela Effect episode. I mean something simpler that, and honestly, something more unsettling. What if your brain is filtering everything you experience in a way that is not accurate, but just useful? Because here's what research has actually found: your brain is not built to show you truth, it is built to keep you alive. And those are not the same thing. Think about this for a second. Right now, your brain is taking in an enormous amount of information: light, sound, temperature, movement, signals from inside your body and outside, millions of data points hitting your senses every single second. And you are consciously aware of almost none of it. Your brain is doing something remarkable in real time. It's sorting through all of that information and deciding this matters, this does not. This gets through to your conscious awareness. This gets blocked. This gets edited. This gets filled in with something that makes sense based on everything you've already experienced. You are not seeing the world. You are seeing your brain's version of the world. A filtered, edited, processed version that has been customized specifically for you based on your history and your fears and your beliefs. What your brain has decided you need to pay attention to in order to survive. almost all the time, and you have no idea it's happening. Now, here's the question that gets me. If your brain is editing reality before it even reaches your awareness, who decides what gets through and what is getting cut that you're not even aware you were missing? I want to make this personal because I think it hits different when it comes from a real place. I have ADHD. And one of the things that took me a long time to understand about my own brain is the way it filters information is fundamentally different from how most people's brains work. Some things hit me harder than they should. A sound in the background that other people tune out completely. My brain treats it like it belongs right in front of the room. A thought that crosses my mind for a second turns into a full conversation my brain decides to have with itself for the next 20 minutes. And other things do not register at all when they probably should. Details that seem obvious to other people just don't make it through my filter. For a long time, I interpreted that as something being wrong with me. Why can I not just focus like other people? Why does everything feel louder? Why does my brain decide certain things are urgent when they are clearly not? But here's the reframe that changed everything. My filter is not broken. It is just set differently. It is tuned to a different frequency. Some things come through more intensely. Some things get filtered differently. Not wrong, different. And once I understood that, I stopped trying to force my brain to work like somebody else's. I started to try to understand my own filter well enough to actually see it. Here's something I find genuinely fascinating, and I think once you hear it, you're going to start noticing it everywhere. Your brain has a built in attention filter, it's always running, and its job is to decide out of everything happening around you right now what deserves your conscious attention. And here is how it decides. It flags things that aren't relevant to what you already care about, what you've already been thinking about, what you have told it that what's important, either through deliberate focus or through years of emotional experience. You have probably noticed this without having a name for it. You learn a new word and suddenly you start hearing it constantly. You start thinking about buying a certain car and you start seeing that car everywhere. You think about someone and they call. The word was always being used. The car was always out on the road. The person was probably already thinking about reaching out. But your brain was not flagging those things as important before. And now it is. And so they come through. This is your brain's filter working exactly as designed. And once you understand it, you start to realize The things you are noticing in your daily life right now are a direct reflection of what your brain has decided matters. What you focus on expands, not because the universe rearranges itself for you, because your brain starts letting more of it through. I want to connect this to something we talked about in episode 5, the third eye. In that episode, we talked about the third eye as a center of awareness and perception. The ability to see things that go beyond ordinary surface level observation, to pick up on energy, patterns, and meaning that other people walk right past. And I said, I thought the third eye and intuition might be the same thing, or at least living on the same spectrum. Here's what I want to add to that now. What if opening your third eye is not about gaining something new? What if it's about removing filters? Think about what happens when people describe a shift in awareness. A moment where they suddenly see something they've been looking at for years in a completely new way. A conversation they pick up on what someone really means underneath what they are actually saying. A situation where they realize, I've been looking at this completely wrong. That is not magic. That is the filter shifting. That is the brain deciding to let something through that had been blocking or editing or smoothing over. And if that is true, if expanded awareness is really just a less filtered version of what is already there, then the work is not about adding something. It's about clearing something, getting quiet enough, aware enough, present enough that more of reality can actually get through. Here is where this gets a little unsettling. And I want to sit with this one honestly because I think it deserves it. If your brain is filtering everything you experience, if it's editing your perception of reality before it even reaches your conscious awareness, then how much of what you believe about yourself is actually true? The voice in your head tells you who you are, what you're capable of, and what you deserve, what is possible for your life. What if a significant part of that is not truth? What if it's just a pattern your brain got used to running? What if the belief that you're not enough or that things never work out for you or that you always end up in the same situations is not a reflection of reality, but a reflection of the filter? A pattern that got installed early, got reinforced over time, and now your brain treats it as a fact because it's never been seriously questioned. Because here's what I keep coming back to. If your brain can filter reality one way, if it can build a set of beliefs and assumptions and then look for evidence that confirms them elsewhere, then it can also be retrained. The filter can be adjusted, the pattern can be interrupted. Not overnight, not by just deciding to think positive and hoping for the best, but through awareness, through noticing, through starting to ask, is this actually true? Or is this how my brain is presenting it to me right now? The question is small, but I think it might be one of the most important questions a person can learn to ask themselves. I want to give you one more thing to sit with before I close this out. Two people can be in the same room, they hear the same conversation, they witness the same event, and they can walk away with completely different experiences of what just happened, different memories, different emotional responses, different takeaways. Not not because one of them is lying, but because they walked in with different filters, different histories, different things their brains had decided to flag as important. And those filters shaped what each of them experienced as reality. This is not a small observation. This is the thing that explains almost every conflict, every misunderstanding, every moment where two people look at the same situation and see completely different things. We are all walking around inside our own filtered version of reality, convinced that we're just seeing it, convinced that what we are just seeing is just what is there, convinced that our interpretation is the obvious one, convinced that the other person is either lying or crazy because how could they possibly see it differently? But they have a different filter built from a different life, tuned to different frequencies. That realization alone, really sit with it, really let it land, changes how you move through the world. Stop being quiet so certain that your version is the only version. You start getting curious about what other people's filters are letting through that is not yours. And you start asking, why is my filter blocking that? I do not even know what I'm missing. That is episode 6, everybody. I do not have a clean conclusion for this one because I do not think this is the kind of topic that has one. This is something you sit with, something you start noticing in your daily life. The way you interpret conversations, the way you react to things, the way your mood on a given day shifts, what feels real and what does not. Just start paying attention. That's all. Not forcing anything, not trying to fix everything overnight, just noticing. Because the moment you become aware of the filter, the moment you can see it operating, you are no longer completely controlled by it. And that might be the closest thing to waking up that actually exists. If you've not followed the show yet, please do wherever you are listening: Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, YouTube. Hit that follow button. Leave a rating if you can. It helps more than you know. New episode tomorrow. Stay curious. Take care of yourselves. I will talk to you then.